Monsoonal rain is continuing to drive the risk of heavy falls and significant flooding across Queensland. Meanwhile, in the west, we are seeing the emerging risk of a possible tropical cyclone. We can see just how active the tropics are looking at our satellite map. Significant areas of cloud moving across those northern reaches of Australia, driven by areas of low pressure, which on this map are indicated by these blue dashed lines. We see the low pressure trough lying through northern parts of Western Australia and the Northern Territory, merging into the monsoon trough through Queensland. That has already brought significant amounts of rain to Queensland, which has driven the flooding situation that we're now dealing with. Major flood warnings are in place for the Herbert, Horton and Burdekin River catchments, as well as for the Cape and Flinders River catchments. Minor to moderate flood warnings are in place for many other catchments along that north coast and across inland areas as well. Now, grounds are wet and rivers are swollen, which means we may not need much more rainfall in the gauges to see another river rise response from our catchments. We also have flood watches in place for parts of northern inland and central Queensland, including parts of the Gulf Country and Thomson River catchment. Now, the flood watches indicate the future risk of flooding across these areas as rainfall starts to ramp up inland. It's also worth noting that our flood thresholds through these inland parts are much lower than on the coast, which means we don't need to see such high numbers in the gauges to get a similar flood response through those inland parts. We also have a severe weather warning for heavy rainfall in place for parts of the northeast tropical coast. It extends from Tully down to Ayr and includes Cardwell, Ingham and Townsville in that warning area. Now, we've generally seen fairly modest rainfall totals in the past 24 hours in these areas, but we're expecting to see a fresh burst of moisture move in from later today, bringing the increased risk of heavy rainfall through these areas from later today going into Sunday. We may see 6-hourly rainfall totals in excess of 140 millimetres and 24-hour rainfall totals pushing towards 250 millimetres. Heavy falls may also be driven by thunderstorm activity. Taking a look at our thunderstorm forecast for today and focusing on the yellow areas, we can see that severe thunderstorms are possible across much of northern Queensland, including parts of the coast and inland areas. Our red areas show where those severe storms are likely, and that does include parts of the North Tropical Coast, the Herbert and Lower Burdekin, and some of those northern inland areas too. Now, heavy falls with thunderstorms are more likely to be more isolated depending on exactly where those storms develop. However, the storm risk is not just for northern Queensland. If I zoom out a little bit on this map, we can see that severe storms bringing that risk of heavy rain and flash flooding are possible across much of Northern Territory and northern Western Australia as well. In any of these areas, largely driven by those areas of low pressure, we could see severe thunderstorms bringing the heavy falls and the flash flooding through the course of today. A new risk is also emerging as we move further west, and that is Tropical Low 18U. It is starting to develop off the northwest Kimberley coast at the moment. Now, Tropical Low 18U is not yet a tropical cyclone, but it has the potential to strengthen to tropical cyclone intensity in the next couple of days. In anticipation of that strengthening, we have issued a tropical cyclone watch that covers the Kimberley coast between Curie Bay down to Broome, not including Broome itself. Now, in that watch area, we are likely to see rainfall and strong winds increasing in the next 24 to 48 hours. Exactly when we'll start to see those severe weather impacts will depend on exactly when Tropical Low 18U develops into a tropical cyclone. Taking a look at our initial track map, we can see that it is expected to move southwest along the Kimberley coast over the next day or so, likely reaching tropical cyclone intensity either later tomorrow night or going into Monday. After it reaches tropical cyclone intensity, it's still expected to move southwest along those coastal areas, bringing a further risk of rain, wind and elevated sea state to these parts of the Kimberley coast, eventually pushing towards the Pilbara as well. Now, this risk is emerging and we will keep a close eye on it as this system continues to develop, and it will determine what further warnings are issued for these areas. But wherever we're looking across the tropics, whether it's at the tropical low in the northwest or at the significant flooding in the northeast, we're seeing a lot of activity from our monsoonal areas at the moment. It's important to keep on top of all of the updates via the Bureau's website or the BOM Weather app. Stay safe and we'll catch you in the next update.